I mean, I have been in rooms where the tension is thicker than your coffee over there. A lot of it is around people's different interpretation of what's fair.
Hello and welcome to this week's Tea Break. I'm Enazi alongside my co-host Yuri Bender. Joining us today is Sally Tennant OBE, founder of Acorn Capital Advisers. Sally, thank you so much for coming on the show. And I've got to start by asking, what tea have you gone for?
Peppermint tea. I think enough caffeine in the morning is very refreshing, and I need to be fresh for this.
Well, I've had a few days in China, Ali, so I brought back a few samples of the Chinese tea. The tea drinking is somewhat of a national pastime. The conversation I was having with a lot of people there, they were asking me about the UK, and they were saying, why is the UK so bleak at the moment? You know, the combination of Brexit, the budget, the British weather isn't helping too much either. Sally, are we being a bit too negative about UK PLC at the moment, or are there reasons for us to be seriously concerned?
UK PLC's got a lot going for it. At the end of the day, we have great talent here, great educational system, resilience, and these are all attributes which allow us to really kind of rebuild. And if I look at, I think actually inflation's coming down. This government wants to invest in infrastructure. People want growth.
We had, key themes of conflict and tension, between generations, as described by Elisa Travato in her piece on disputes growing inside some of the world's wealthiest families. And Sally, you're a fund manager, investment expert by trade. But do you find yourself increasingly, mediating between rich clients, who have got themselves into a family dispute?
It's all part of the job. I mean, as a wealth advisor, wealth is not just investments. It's emotional wealth. It's empathy. It's harmony. All of those things, really identity, that's really important. So disputes are part of all families, but they can be exacerbated when it comes to money. I mean, I have been in rooms where the tension is thicker than your coffee over there. A lot of it is around people's different interpretation of what's fair, often, and what's right, and good communication, but probably more importantly, listening. A lot of the conflict comes because people don't feel they're heard, be it from one generation to another or between siblings. But yes, over the years, I've seen conflicts, down to mugs and tables being broken and things from anger and stuff. Yeah.
I was in Hong Kong for the last couple of days, and there was an old friend of mine who's been a lawyer in Hong Kong for the last 2 or 3 decades. And she was saying to me, showing me around these wood-panelled offices, wonderful legal chambers, and she was saying to me, see all of this? This is financed by one family who are constantly suing each other for the last 30 years. 90% of my income comes from several generations of one family just in a constant squabble, which is a bit of an eye-opener. Then I went to see this guy Ningbo in China, late 70s, and I'm saying to him, so you've got your sons, when are you handing over to the next generation? He said, no, they're doing their own business. I'm opening new factories. I've still got lots of energy. I'm expanding. There's a great market for us in the West for Chinese goods. I'm not thinking about succession planning. And I found that kind of attitude in a few families in China. Is that something specifically Asian, Sally, or do you think there's a lot of people who are thinking, we're going to live forever and are not really thinking about the generational handover?
I don't think it's specifically Asian, although respect for elders makes it harder to deal with. I'm interested that you were saying how this family have spent time suing each other, because that culturally is not normal in that part of the world. That's much more kind of American. But look, first generation entrepreneurs really find it hard to hand over because their identity has come from their success. But it's not just in families and entrepreneurs. Think of the number of chief executives who don't let go and don't think about succession planning because they love it. The most successful ones actually are those who do give the next generation time to get into the business and maybe part of it before they're ready, so that the trust is built.
Are private markets, among the family offices you speak to, really as popular as the promoters would have us, to believe?
Well, I think the data shows that there has been an increase in investments in illiquids and alternatives. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're the most suitable investments. For entrepreneurs and family offices who've enjoyed a family business, they can identify much more with a private business. And so it does appear often to be more interesting, more exciting, not always suitable, and not, some people are quite naive. And again, do you get access to the best investments? I think that's always a big challenge.
Do you find some of the families you speak to, is there a danger that they can live in their own bubble?
Many people like to be with their tribe and mix with people that they're friends and neighbours and you share things in common, but you can end up losing a sense of what the real world is like. And the things that I've seen that are successful that families have done is having a no staff day. So the family have to lay the table, do the cooking, wash up, and realise that's most people's lives. Making sure that their children spend time not just on the philanthropy side, giving money, but actually rolling up their sleeves and going and working in charities and experiencing life different from their own. You think of the really successful big families who've survived generations. They never feel it's their money. They have a wonderful sense this is a legacy and a privilege, and therefore and they have their own sense of being and purpose, and their identity doesn't just come from the money that's there. And I think they manage to stay a lot more grounded, in my experience.
And Ali, of course, you're no stranger to sustainability. You won the Rising Talent Award at the Aviva Awards, where you were very much being feted there.
Yeah.
And what are the key themes you've seen in sustainability?
Of course, Yuri, I don't want to get ahead of myself with that award, but I want to focus more on the long-term mega trends, that align with the values and beliefs of each family's traditions, and which is something described by one of our recent stories by Lombard Odier from LGT. Sally, you must have seen, these crazy trends at Lombard Odier, at Gartmore and many others, flaky concepts such as, portable alpha, suddenly lauded by every fund manager on the planet. How do you separate the good ones from the bad ones?
Does it sound right? Does it feel right? Is there the data? Is it too good to be true? It often is too good to be true and quite dangerous. And get teams of people to challenge and really think through a concept. It's not easy, but it's interesting. It's what keeps one going, keeps one inquiring, keeps one questioning.
And Sally, we're looking very much at a cross-generational story here in the studio, because obviously you used to be the private banking boss at Schroders, and Ali is actually about to desert us and join Schroders across the road over there to be an investment writer there. What sort of advice would you be giving to Ali about joining Schroders, once seen as the citadel of the investment management world?
Congratulations, first of all, on the job. I think you said something really important there, once seen. Look, it should be absolutely globally beating it. So the best bit of advice is challenge. Get them to think less about in that old British merchant banking kind of way and be more global, more like the Americans, because they've got a great opportunity. It's a British-based asset manager that should be killing it globally, and you can help them get there. That's my advice to you.
Fantastic. I think that is the best piece of advice I could have gotten just before I start. Thank you so much, Sally, and thank you, Yuri, for all these episodes that we've shot together. I think it's been an absolute pleasure. And thank you to all our guests that have come, and thank you so much, Sally. And thank you to the studio team, Bianca. It's been an absolute pleasure. And thank you to the viewers for sticking by and watching our show for the last year or so. I guess for one final time, it's goodbye from me.